Hi, everybody, and welcome to LIS456 Records Management. This is class session 10, and we are discussing topics which I hope you recognize if you've had a chance to read the textbook, or I hope you recognize after listening to this lecture that we're covering topics this week, the significance of which extend far beyond, I guess, the confines of this course or records management as a profession. So they're broadly applicable, and I hope you recognize that what we talk about has significant implications uh, in the quote unquote real world. And as such, I hope this provides you with some fodder, perhaps, for idea generation around your final assignment for the class, which is the Records Management Ethics in the Real World paper. Um, with that said, as a preface, we are discussing this week, in case you didn't know, issues around information privacy and security and what it looks like for individuals, what it looks like for businesses, and in particular the role records managers play in supporting and enforcing and maintaining issues of information security and also privacy rights. To start with businesses, organizations have come to recognize information as a significant asset of their companies. Unlike, say, brick and mortar buildings or machine or factory production lines or kind of products that are produced, information is considered an intangible asset. You can't necessarily put your hands on it. You can't pick it up and move it around, but you would be bereft if you didn't recognize the intrinsic and significant value that information has. And oftentimes it is reflected on balance sheets, and even more so, it's reflected in market valuations. That being sort of a company's stock market price in our capitalist society. And sort of information in this capacity can look like any number of things. Think of the example that's often used is sort of the secret recipe for Coca-Cola, which is considered a trade secret information, and is highly valuable. And Coke would be undoubtedly fight tooth and nail to resist the release of that. Also, sort of corporate branding, corporate identification. Some of those ephemeral ideas can oftentimes be translated into information assets. Even more so in today's sort of Web 2.0 or even Web 3.0 world that we're looking at. Oftentimes you will come across, I'm sure you've seen written up in sort of the news, companies which have very little necessarily very slim profit margins per se, but have considerable market valuations. Think of some of the IPOs we saw a year ago or so around Uber and some of the early days of Amazon.com and kind of their paper value, which far exceeded any profit margin they were running. And a lot of that value is based on the kind of intrinsic information assets that a company holds. They may have specific algorithms in how they deliver their services. There may be underlying source code for their websites that kind of inform their supply chains to produce operational efficiencies. All of these are information assets which a company is sort of is well heeded to protect at all at all costs, at a significant cost, and that cost often comes down to information security staff. Also, records managers play a role in that. Um, Even more so than for businesses, however, I want you all to think about individually in your personal lives what information privacy, information security means to you. And I'm sure that we've all had these thoughts cross our mind in the past several weeks, in the past several years, looking at a number of data breaches by internet services, internet companies that we employ, credit card numbers stolen. For in the case of individuals, the information which we create, which we generate, is a significant unique and personal asset, which we have a vested interest in maintaining the security and sanctity of. Think about your social security number, your health records, sort of your financial records. All of these things you entrust to organizations in one way or another, be it the government, be it a hospital, be it just purchasing an airplane ticket online or a concert ticket online, and running your credit card numbers through, those kind of things. Also think about on an even smaller level, think about the browsing history of your computer, your purchase history of products you've purchased through, say, Amazon or through another online vendor, or even when you go to CVS and you enter your account number, your telephone number, and it prints you off an acre of an acre-long receipt, which doubles as a coupon. That indicates that they are, sort of keeping track of what you've purchased. Your purchase history in this case is a significant asset to the company, and also in turns to you. In that, if you want to think about it a step further, it helps them shape and manage kind of the products they're marketing to you. Extending this even further, I mean, if you think about your cell phone data, the GPS tracking that you may have if you have location services turned on a smartphone, and the ability for organizations to pinpoint you, cross-reference this information with, say, purchase histories you've made, and in turn tailor their advertising and products to you. I don't mean to sound like a tin hat conspiracy theorist, but organizations have come to recognize there's a significant value in the information that you provide them, knowingly and unknowingly. So being mindful of the security and the maintenance of this is very critical to all of us as informed consumers of both products, services, and information in this day and age. And it's always worthy to think about what issues arise from any potential compromising of this security. I'm sure we've all had to reset an internet password after an account was hacked or something like that. So issues around information privacy and security for individuals are protected by a patchwork, a very spotty patchwork maybe, but still a net which provides security around issues of right to privacy and whatnot. It's worth noting that the right to privacy is not actually stated anywhere in the U.S. Constitution, but it is heavily implied in a number of the Bill of Rights, etc. There are, however, a number of laws, acts, and legislations which pieced together provide a good sense of a strong foundation of personal privacy. And it's also worth noting that companies are looking for ways to get around some of these privacy laws. Think about the super long contracts and agreements to download software through an app store, and no one ever reads those. But in there are often a number of caveats and sort of skirtings of the law, which if one were given to such things, it would cause one significant pause before using sort of an app. Nonetheless, I say this to you, again, not as a conspiracy theorist, but as someone who is trying to ensure that everyone is aware of their potential exposures. If you in your textbook, I believe pages 286 through 289 have a very strong compilation of existing laws, both within the United States as well as internationally, around data protection and personal privacy. So that's worthy of looking at. And also there's, from the European Union, the EU has issued the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, which was released, I believe, in 2018. I've worked at Simmons University to sort of implement and work toward best practices that meet these guidelines. This is a significant step forward in managing personal data, particularly in this case for EU citizens, and it's based upon the principle of privacy by design, in that products and services are designed with privacy as the first and foremost, as a core principle to which they strive to adhere. And so in turn, a lot of our services with international scope at Simmons have to be built and constructed in such a way that they meet this best practice. And for other larger and multinational corporations, the need to comply with GDPR is kind of raising the bar and setting a standard to which international business is starting to move in, and in turn a lot of other commerce will as well. So what does all this mean for records managers? I mean, because this is actually a records management course, not an information security and privacy course. As I hope you've come to see in the past 8, 9, 10 weeks, there's a value to records. There are several core values to records. There's the fiscal value, the legal value, operational value, and the historical value of records, which records managers have to identify and develop retention schedules in compliance with, and manage the records in compliance with those. And I think this notion of information value underlines all of these sort of pillars of information, of the value of records. Records information security informs all aspects of what a records manager does. Your goal is to develop systems that protect records from unauthorized access and exploitation. That could be everything from making sure that your personnel files are maintained in a locked room, that only authorized personnel have access to them. It could be ensuring there are appropriate firewalls on any front-facing portals to provide a top level of access security for your customers and your internal staff who need to access things. Think of things like double verification on for login attempts, all of the various gestures of internet security that have been put forward over the past 10, 15 years, 10, 20 years. Even before you get to that kind of providing of protection, it's important for records managers to work oftentimes with IT forces, with the IT staff, and with any cybersecurity staff you may have around identifying information which is of a confidential nature, or of a private nature, or sensitive nature. There are specific classifications of information which a records manager will oftentimes employ in a business setting, public being things that are publicly accessible, obviously, and then it escalating from public to sensitive information, private information, and then confidential is sort of the escalating stairway for most businesses. In the U.S. government military setting, they have a much more, codified and sort of strict kind of series of plateaus with unclassified information, confidential information, secret and top secret being kind of that scaling up in a government military setting. But the core functions in records management oftentimes being